Hi, I'm Joe for Lonesome Studios, and I know that collaborating can be a pretty intimidating thing, especially if you're new to the game. But in the modern music industry, it's more important than ever. Now, with social media being the primary way for artists to market themselves, it only makes sense that collaborations have become a more useful technique in growing your listeners. If both you and your collaborating artist have similar social media followings, then you could potentially be doubling each other's followings just by making music together. Now, it's not just about gaining fame though. In collaborating with each other, you might find a long-term friend, a music partner. Now, if you're suffering from writer's block or just plain boredom with your music, then collaboration can relight that creative spark to keep you making great music. The first piece of advice starts before you've even asked an artist if they want to do a collaboration. So do your research. This should go without saying, but it's so important to know at least some background about the artist you're trying to work with. For example, what's their sound? What styles do they like to work on? Have they done any collaborations before? And some of this information might not be publicly available, but it's always a good idea to make sure you know who you're working with beforehand. Just, you don't want to get any nasty surprises when you get in the studio with them. Hopefully you'll find that step wasn't necessary, because the vast majority of artists are genuine and friendly people. Now, after you've asked for a collaboration, it's a good idea to get to know each other a little. It doesn't have to be anything intense. Just grab a coffee, grab a beer before heading to the studio, even just chat over Messenger, if you're working remotely. This will oil the social cogs before getting into the nitty-gritty, and it'll make the collaboration process start off way smoother. And in the unlikely situation that your collaborating partner is a dickhead, you're not going to be wasting any precious studio time with them if you know that beforehand. Now, after you've done a little bit of research, the next thing to do is to actually ask for that collaboration. If you've never met that other artist before, the best way to do this is to ask them to, appear on a track that you've already prepared. It's as simple as dropping them a short DM on Instagram with a link to your track in its current state, and you can say something like, "Hey, I really love your sound. I'd love to feature your vocals on this track. Can you check it out and let me know what you think? Thanks." And it really doesn't have to be any more complex than that. At the end of the day, if they like the track and they like your vibe, then say yes, and bam, you've got a collaboration going. Once you've done a couple of features with an artist, you might agree to work on collectively, on a whole new project if you find that you're working together really well. Just remember to contact artists that are at the same level as you are. You stand way more success of supporting other artists like yourself rather than shooting your shot with anyone major. The third piece of advice is to prepare some ideas before beginning work on the project. This one is both etiquette for collaborating and also just straight up a good idea for productivity. Remember back in school when you were assigned, group projects and one person did all the work whilst everybody else just decided to improvise on the day, come with nothing, not good. Yeah, it's best to avoid that situation when you're collaborating with another artist. You might feel like you work best when you're improvising, but the other artist might not. And if one of you shows up with a list of ideas while the other prefers to go with the flow, you might create some tension in the studio. So even if you both agree to work improvisationally, it's simply it's a practical decision to have a list of ideas on the back burner anyway. At some point, your creative juices will run dry after a long day of brainstorming, producing and recording. Even just a list of chord progressions, a few lines, a voice note drum beat, or a sample can be the creative ignition that you both might need when you hit a wall. The fourth point, both artists need to be prepared to listen to each other closely and adjust. After all, what's the point in collaborating if you're not open to new ideas? You should be ready to adapt and experiment with your process, your routine, your sound, as well as giving all your partner's ideas a shot. even if you aren't that into them at first. You know, presenting your creative ideas to another artist can be quite intimidating, you know, especially people who might suffer from anxiety or a lack of confidence. So always make sure that you give every idea a good shot before deciding together to bin it if it doesn't work. Alternatively, if you're the kind of confident artist that finds presenting creative ideas easy, you know, just make sure you don't force them. You know, you've always got to listen closely to each other's feedback, and if they're being kind of quiet, just pay attention to the vibe that they're giving off. You know, if an idea isn't working for the both of you, then there's no shame in scrapping it. That's okay. If you're an artist, then you no doubt have a folder chock full of scrapped ideas and unreleased tracks that you might have spent days working on, you know, melody or chord progression here or there that you really liked. You know, and that's an integral part to being an artist. And it doesn't change when you're collaborating with others. And the final point for this video is a pretty essential one, the power dynamic. Or to sound a bit less intimidating, you need to set out who the leader of the project is. Working completely equally on a project it's a nice idea. Like Kanye and Jay-Z's Watch the Throne. But if you and the other artists don't quite have that close relationship yet, then working equally is most likely gonna end in arguments. You know, and assigning a leader to the project will ensure that the decisions get made and the collaboration gets finished successfully. If you don't agree before the project starts on who gets the final say, then it's likely that it will just go on forever. The two of you will just get stuck in a stalemate of ideas. If the track you're producing is going to be published under one of the artist's names, whilst the other is listed as a feature, you know, then obviously it makes sense that the leader should be the former. It could seem unfair if that feature gets an equal say in the creative process as the actual publishing artist. Also, related to this, make sure to sign a split sheet. You know, it's so important to get your ownership percentages down in writing before publishing the music to protect your royalties. Truthfully, asking for a collaboration is an absolutely intimidating thing, especially if you're a newer artist on the scene. But I really hope this video has helped clear your mind of some of the uncertainties. You know, plus, let's be real, we're all in the same boat. Everybody wants a collaboration. It's just about finding the right person who also understands the points we've talked about in this video. So make sure to hit that like button and share it around to help other artists gain confidence to ask for collaborations. Now, if you want to work with me or any of the other engineers, producers, whatever, here at Lonesome Dog Studios, then check out lonesomedogstudios.com.